I was really glad that nurse coaching came to me and I was able to be allowed to not have a true definition for it. Of course, there are pillars of what makes us a nurse coach, but at the end of the day, it is your own art that you get to make out of it. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm here to do.
Nurses, nurse coaches, welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. Today, I am joined by the amazing nurse coach, Sofiya. Sofiya, welcome here today. We're really excited to have you, and I'm excited for the opportunity to spend this next 30, 40 minutes with you. And Sofiya Stasiv is a holistic lifestyle and adventure coach. She's the founder of You versus You Wellness Coaching, and she uses her background in nursing to aid others in creating more holistically connected and fulfilling lives. Her coaching allows her clients to approach health through adventure as they learn to create sustainable and effective changes. And Sofiya is passionate about seeking adventure, getting uncomfortable, and creating a more well-connected world. Sofiya, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Oh my gosh, that intro is beautiful. I love that is what I am representing today.
Yeah, I love that too. And I was stoked when I got to read that and to kind of put all this together, because I love your passion for adventure, for like getting out there and like making nurse coaching your very own. And that's what I most appreciate, and I'm excited to speak with you here today. So you are clearly passionate about this intersection of adventure and health, and I would love for you to just kind of open us up. Tell me more about how that fits into your practice, or actually, before we get on there, what's been the most fun adventure that you've been on lately?
Oh man, the latest adventure that I've been on lately has been summiting my first ever mountain. It was a 14,000 mountain in the Handy's Peak area in the American Basin. It is one of the most remote places ever. I was able to partner up with an expedition company and lead my first retreat, as well as my first ever backpacking adventure. So I'm just going to fully expose myself already. I sought discomfort by not only doing my first retreat, but also choosing to backpack for the first time ever as well with 40 pounds on my back. It was the most invigorating experience ever, as I had my breath stolen from me, feeling like I was in a whole nother dimension of what a beautiful world we live on, as I saw mountain peaks and meadows and snow and the vastness that we get to live on in this world, as well as get to coach some really beautiful souls along the way and really being able to change their lives, and as well as change my own.
So holy smokes. So there's a lot to unpack here, Sofiya. So you're leading this retreat. So it's your first time, like backpacking, you're at elevation. What made you decide to want to do this? Like, why push yourself in so many different areas all at once?
It's kind of a blended question, honestly. A little bit is to continue to seek discomfort, because that's like one of my very biggest things I really try and hone in on. And as well as a little bit is trying to really understand my high achievingness that I'm trying to just downplay a little bit. But honestly, if I could give you the true answer, Peter, it's when I created my business for You versus You Wellness Coaching, the whole theme and the whole message in You versus You is really facing the battles that you face within yourself. There's always that version of you that really wants the highest good for yourself, the highest peaks, the greatest good, honestly. And then there's that other side of you that is wanting to play it small, play it safe, and, move through life in small bits. Both can be right. They truly can be, but it's trying to figure out how to fuse them together. And when I was able to create this retreat, and a huge thank you to the partnership I made with Belay Expeditions to do so, I was able to really find my messaging in my own self, as well as really be able to represent that and show in an external environment what You versus You means, and really be able to show people that there is a way to get through that challenge with yourself, as long as you can do it with others to help support you and guide you along the way.
Yeah, I was curious about how You versus You came to fruition, and I love that name. So thanks for expanding on that a little bit more, Sofiya. So how did you see that play out with your participants, with the people who went on this grand adventure? So how did you see this all play out? So we have you versus you coaching, and such a great name, but like, how did you see that play out in your participants as they were like going through this? I've backpacked before. Like, I have done my fair share of like wondering as I'm, 10 miles into the wilderness. I'm like, what did I do? Like, what would I do this again? And why did I bring this can of soup? It's so freaking heavy. Like, they have dehydrated meals for a reason, right? So yeah, how did you see like this all play out inside of your participants, and how did you show up as a coach, like to support them while also kind of going through this yourself? Because you mentioned that this was, your first time backpacking. So yeah, I'm curious how you versus you played out with your participants and like how you showed up.
The way it played out for me is taking that second of, one, remembering my why. And my why is 100% wanting to bring more adventure and connection and curiosity into the lives of others. And I really made sure that I took the tools that the Nurse Coach Collective even taught me, of those foundational things of understanding your values and understanding what it means to truly live in a very holistic way. And so when I was painting this picture of what this retreat was going to look like, and for these participants, I really took that second and asked myself, if I was starting over, how do I want to make sure that my foundation was stable? And so when it came to creating this retreat, it meant making this beautiful booklet of understanding some of the core things that we know internally within ourselves, that I got to have little mini sessions with them on the top of the mountain to really guide them through that and be reminded of that, as well as then applying that in whatever way they could in that moment. Because that was, if I'll be honest with you and completely transparent, it's sometimes hard to tap into your deepest self when you're also carrying 40 pounds on your back and taking an adventure for the first time. But it was a beautiful thing for them to start really letting sink in deeper into themselves when the time for reflection came, whether that was sleeping in the tent or maybe on the way out of the mountain and back into their lives. And so I really wanted the participants to first find the simple beauty in life, but also understand the true challenge with it and how there is a lot of beauty in the journey. And if you take that pause to reflect with it, it can be found to really understand the strength you have to make the changes that you need, even if the change is just eating that pack of food to make your bag lighter, or really taking that second deep breath as the air is thinning. Or maybe it's not any of that because you can't focus, and it's going to all happen when you're on that plane and you actually take that second to take a moment with yourself and really ask and notice what you just did and how it's going to interplay into all the rest of your life.
So I hear like there's all, like it can definitely be challenging to work with somebody and to coach somebody as they are in these different environments. And I also appreciate like your unattachment to when these shifts happen for people, right? Maybe it's on the top of the mountain, maybe it's on the way out, maybe it's even on the plane ride afterwards, like after the entire experience is over. But I'm curious about those micro interactions that you had, because, I think we can leverage our coaching skill set in so many different ways. How did you find yourself like showing up as a nurse coach in those micro interactions, in those smaller sessions, I guess we can call them? Like, what did you do inside of there? Yeah.
Truly for me, it was knowing I am just like them. Of course, I have the training and the leadership to be able to guide through, but in those micro interactions, I had to remember that I am also struggling and I've also worked through it at work. And so to seeing them as equal really helped in the pressure of that, and to be able to really understand that we're all just human, and knowing that you don't have to be in a hierarchy with others to find growth is, I think, really important to remember so it doesn't feel as intimidating. And that's what helped me as I was leading the retreat, that I let go of that completely, to really understand that this is just another adventure for me. And when I am in an adventure, my heart is open and understanding who this human life is and what stories they carry and the way that they have the perspective of how they choose to see the world.
There's a lot of gold in what you just said, Sofiya, that I want to take a moment to draw out. And a big portion is being human, right? And remembering that, yes, we have this training, this additional training as nurse coaches, but I think something that makes nurse coaching so freaking effective is that we're willing to be vulnerable. We're willing to be just like authentic and real with our clients. occasionally we lead them and we take the lead, but for the most part, we're like on the level with them and we're guiding them. And so I love that, like, that's how you're showing up on mountaintops and also, inside of your practice as well as a nurse coach. I think that's an amazing way to coach and to create that container for the people that we get to serve, because like, man, it just makes it easier. It makes it easier. And it's interesting how you said, there's no hierarchy inside of that relationship. How do you think that creates a better environment for change when we remove the essence of hierarchy?
You give permission. You give full expression to be allowed. Just as kids grow up, like there's no hierarchy for them either. They just like show up at the playground and they just like interact. And that's how they build their rapport on the monkey bars and so forth. Like it's this sense of playfulness that happens because you get to just see yourself as one. And I think that is something that is really forgotten because we've created this language of professionalism, which is needed in certain aspects. But when it comes to truly understanding what wellness is, it's a truly ever-evolving process. There's no professionalism to that because you're always tripping and falling and rerouting. And so I don't know how you can keep that container in a transformative sense when you keep it that way. You have to figure out how to make it that one-on-one personalization. It's definitely can be, at least I'll confess, when it came to this nurse coaching realm that I entered into, which I'm just so thankful I found, it was hard to break that barrier with myself because there was what I did at the bedside. It was very professional and you couldn't be as personal unless like it was truly intimate because of what I was doing with the autonomy of revealing a human body. But it's completely different when it's on the deeper emotional, intangible sense of what makes us human.
In a lot of ways, almost more vulnerable sometimes than, there's the physical aspect of what we do at the bedside as nurses, which can be super vulnerable and revealing for our patients. And as nurse coaches, when we start to go into that more emotional mindset realm and, looking at all of life's experience and inviting our clients to open up and be vulnerable and authentic, like that gets really raw in like just such a different way. And so bringing that piece of play, I think that's a beautiful way to kind of think about it is, we talk a lot about playing in the moment. And I think when I say that, I've often focused on like the moment part versus the playing. And now that I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, oh, that's why we say, playing in the moment as nurse coaches, because like it is wellness and creating change. It's all about play and about trying new things and, seeing how that works together as a team, with our clients. Still being the pros, still being professional, and maintaining that air of professionalism, but at the same time, kind of just getting to be human and getting to be more real and raw, which, for being honest, so many nurses are super interested in, right? I mean, I guess that's a good segue. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, how did you get called to nurse coaching in the first place?
What drew me to nurse coaching was I had reached burnout, the classic story, honestly. But I think my way to nurse coaching came a little bit differently because I started my nursing career as a kidney and liver transplant nurse. So I got to really see what it was like to have a second chance at life. And then quickly COVID happened and I got to see what it was like to end a life as I became a COVID nurse. So I got to see duality of life very quickly. But even before what I actually had to see as a true nurse in the hospitals, I also, when I was going through my practice of just even becoming a nurse, I really felt called for community and felt called to be able to figure out how to show that you can take care of yourself preventively and the everyday actions of your life, because I don't think it should be this expensive to take care of yourself as it is today in our Western world. And so nurse coaching really called to me when I was reaching that burnout of feeling that I had to be in really crazy ratios that were quite critical and no one was listening to me and my own wellness was going down the drain. And I found nurse coaching, of course, in a very classic way through the internet, because that's how we stay connected now. But
it's how we're connecting right now.
Yeah, here exactly. Yeah, nothing bad about it. But I was scared. I was scared to take that chance because I was like, there's no way there's actually that much good within the nursing world with how tainted it had become for me with what I was truly experiencing. And when I finally chose to take that leap, I remember it was like an hour before the final sign up was. And I was like laying in bed and I had rolled out of bed and just like typed in everything to finally commit, because I was just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure out a way to make this my life. Because something else I think I invalidated myself on for a very long time is understanding that business can be soulful and there can be a way for change even through business. And when I chose to create my You versus You wellness coaching program, it was something that I finally got to dive into with the helpful tools that your guys' program showed me, that there is a way to completely change your whole life that can be simple yet powerful and will forever ripple into not only your life, but every single life you interact with.
It's a ride. I always appreciate hearing how we all end up kind of in nurse coaching for different reasons, or like how we got here. And, our stories are all unique, but it's interesting because there's usually this pain point for each of us. Like for me, it was a little bit different, but I had reached kind of like a sense of like, what else is next, right? Like I can't really do this at the bedside that much anymore. And also just kind of seeing what you're seeing, was like, why is it so expensive? Why does it cost so much to care for people? And why can't we do the opposite of prevention? But there's also this deeper layer, which I think I'm hearing when you speak, and I can see, which is this calling. Nursing is this calling for so many of us, and like this desire to really, really help people heal. And I think in as much as business can be soulful and adventurous and creative, I also believe that like maybe you're alluding to this as well, as, nursing can be soulful and creative. And I think that is something that really comes through in nurse coaching. And I hear inside of what you're doing is like, it can be soulful, it can be creative, and it can be this intersection of like everything we know as nurses, all of our backgrounds, but also like this other side of us that we're waiting to bring to people. And like now you're getting to do cool things like build this community and to build like this elements that you've been wanting to this whole time inside of nursing. And now here it is.
Yeah. It's so crazy you say all that as I look ahead of myself. And I have this trinket, I could say, that I've had since I was a teenager. And it reads, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And to me, it was really hard when you are programmed into protocols and programmed into a definition of what nursing is, to be able to break out of that. And I was really glad that nurse coaching came to me, and I was able to be allowed to not have a true definition for it. Of course, there are pillars of what makes us a nurse coach, but at the end of the day, it is your own art that you get to make out of it. And I really loved that aspect of it. And I loved being able to put my own identity, my own purpose into that, and to help show others that they can find their very own same way. They can borrow a little bit of mine until they're fully inspired by themselves. But that's what I'm here. That's what I'm here to do.
I love that. Be the change. Let's bring it. Hell yeah. Sofiya, so as you look forward, what's the next big adventure for you in this field as a healer, as a nurse coach? What's the next mountain for you to climb?
If you could see me doing this thing with my hands, Peter, I am going in all directions right now. There is a little bit of everything that I am diving into. A part of me, 100% right now, I'm promoting this adventure mastermind to be able to call in adventurous women that really struggle to find adventure in their daily life, or hope to find more balance and excitement and self-care while navigating the world and their daily struggles. And then, of course, doing another retreat. Of course, how can I not bring that back up on the table? But aside from that, I'm truly trying to challenge myself in making change. And I'm going to be going to my first Forbes 30 Under 30 conference, and I'm going to connect like crazy to figure out how to bring my life and my practice into higher reaches, into bigger crowds, to truly make more ripple effects in this society, because it's as a collective that we change. But of course, it is going to start with one person to create that. And I want to be that one.
Create that masterminds, create that next retreat, get that thing on the books, get it going, because I think there's so much that you've learned and so much strength that you've built just from that that singular event there. And now you're going to be going to Forbes 30 Under 30 conference. I think there's so much value in surrounding yourself with people who are doing what you want to be doing, or who are creating change at a big level, and just being around that kind of energy. So I'm stoked for you to like see how that pans out, and like how all of that kind of comes together. Because man, I found so much value like being around like awesome people who are just like, you look at them and you're like, yeah, okay, like I know you're just a human, but you're doing some really incredible things. And how can I also like begin to do some of that in my own life? So that's beautiful.
It's creating the bridge, just like we teach. It's like there's, again, no hierarchy. It's just how can we connect the pieces to be walking towards each other.
What's currently your favorite nurse coaching tool that like you're finding is really at the forefront of your practice in this moment?
One of my forefront is learning how to create adventure. That's like one of my favorite tools to use. And of course, the tool itself means that we look at your life. We look at, the basic things in our lives, whether that is the food that we choose to eat, the movement we choose to introduce, the conversations that we put ourselves into, the environments that we enter into. And how can we put on that lens of adventure? How can we make sure that we can create that play and that curiosity in walking into that moment and trying it on and seeing what expansion can happen there? Because when we travel even, you are awestruck and you are in wonder because you are finally seeing something differently. And that is a tool that I use within my practice so people can help expand themselves in that type of way. Because sure, adventure is the way that I like to program it or the way that I choose to say it, but also in a way you're creating new neural pathways in your mind and in your body to be able to take on something with more comfort and ease. It's going to take repetition and practice, but the more that you are able to exit out of that and into that adventurous way, it makes it so much easier.
I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing, and you can tell me if I'm here. So for you, like adventure is kind of like this way to invite yourself and people that you serve to get more creative, and it allows you and your clients to get more curious. And I appreciate that because I think that's just like, it's like this gateway into curiosity. And then when you're traveling and when we're on adventure, like there is that sense of awe. And so there's these positive elevated emotions, right? And so when we're coupling elevated emotions with this deep curiosity and this deep learning all inside of this place where like you really can't do anything else. When you're traveling, when you're adventuring, when you're backpacking, there's the distractions of the outside world go away. So it's almost like this quicker way to get in more and more practice through this work. And so what I'm hearing is kind of like this combination of all of these different elements that we know really work inside the science of change, getting super curious, being playful and open to the process, combining like mindset work with positive elevated emotions and doing it inside of a container that is safe, but also like accelerates that ability to practice and create repetition to develop those new neural pathways.
Yeah, exactly. It's just truly a playful way to drop back into yourself when you have had many years of paying attention to everything else in your life.
Anything else that you want to leave in this space, in this conversation before we close out?
Of course. Yeah, I think really the biggest and last thing that I really want to almost scream. Of course, I'm calm right now, but for the sake of audio, I really want to allow everyone to just take that moment, take that breath with themselves and connect back into yourself, but everything around you. There is no way that you can have the life that you have without the connections that you have. And that can look as simple or as grand as possible. It can be the true connection to really the grass outside your front lawn or the dog that you see walks past you every single day. Or it can be truly looking at the sky that is so huge. Like we're connected in so many different ways. And the faces that we see repetitively that we may be too shy to say hi to or understand or know, there is a sense of connection there that is so powerful if it can just be explored. And I think that is one of the only ways that you can truly make a change in your life is if you connect genuinely in the smallest ways and see how that just tears itself into something much greater.
nurses, nurse coaches, I think that's the invitation for the day. Maybe homework of the week, go out and practice the art of connection. And as Sofiya said, there's so many different ways to do that. There's connecting to the earth, connecting to something bigger, maybe a sense of wonder, a sense of awe, connecting to the things that we see every single day that we take for granted, or the people that we walk by, whether the people that we love in our day-to-day lives or even those micro interactions. And we know that one of the greatest factors for longevity and overall health and well-being and happiness is connection to others, connection to the world around us. And we can also practice that through what I like to call the game of collecting smiles and hellos, where you go out and I just try to collect as many smiles and hey, what's ups as I possibly can to fill my cup in just a different way and to hopefully pass that along. So team, that's your homework for the week, provided by the amazing Sofiya. Sofiya, thanks for this conversation here today. You versus you, wellness coaching. We got all of your links and bio below in the description, below the video, below the podcast. Nurses, nurse coaches, thank you so much for joining in with us here today. It's been an absolute pleasure, Sofiya, spending time with you. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking the time here today. It's been a lot of fun.
Of course. Thank you so much, Peter. I'm so honored to be able to spread this message and to help others in whatever capacity I can. So you guys have a beautiful day, and thank you so much again.